And here I am, Jesse,
Hi,
in
Liam.
Japan. We cut to me in Japan like we said we would.
And I've changed clothes. Isn't that magical?
You've changed clothes. I've changed location. I'm currently in the middle of BA in Hokkaido, which is basically the heart of Hokkaido. Took us a little bit of time to get here today, but I'm here joining you to go through some games today, Jesse. So let's get into it. We got the two prelim finals ready to talk about. We managed to watch it over here in Japan, albeit through very, very patchy internet. But that's okay. At @CMPerfect_AFL, Insta, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Tell us where you watch this game. Tell us where you watch this game. I put it up on our Insta like you asked me to do, Jesse. I put a little picture up there showing me on Lake Toya.
Proof of life.
Watching, that's right. Watching the Cats play the Hawks. How are your feelings on the old... Where'd you watch it, Jesse?
Well, you asked me the question, then proceeded to not let me answer it, which is what I normally do to you. So now I know how it feels. It's not. I will say this: it's not very nice, Liam. I watched this game at home. Thank you. Let's talk about the game. What happened?
Lots happened, Jesse. MCG Friday, Saturday, September 19th in front of 99,000. I was excited about the crowd, Jesse. 99,567 people. Thank you very much. Geelong Cats 17-13, 115, defeating the Hawthorn Hawks 13-7, 85. All the talk, Jesse, of Hawks being able to do it from 8th has come to an end against a very, very good Geelong side, it must be said.
Yeah, they probably are the best team in the competition. Irrespective of what happens next week, I've been hot on them for the entire season. This was a unique challenge for the Cats. They're the better side than Hawthorn, but Hawthorn's game plan offers an element of dynamism that the Cats maybe don't have in their arsenal, certainly not to the same extent as the Hawks do. So it was about control here. And when Hawthorn kicked away early doors, it looked like maybe control had been lost by Chris Scott in the box. But as typical Scott and typical Geelong, it just slowly got reeled back in. The Hawks still kicked a winning score. I mean, 85 isn't a losing score by any stretch based on what we've seen this season. But, we know how powerful Geelong can be in that transition football. We know that their forwards are lethal with opportunities and they create opportunities with the speed of ball they get into that forward 50. They're just so good at punishing you in quick succession. That's what we've seen from the good sides that have made it into the finals. And even if you take that to the semi-finals, with the exception of the Crows, who straight sets out, Gold Coast had a 7-goal quarter against Fremantle to get into the semi-finals. Geelong did it to Brisbane. They've done it to Hawthorn now as well. Hawthorn themselves did it to the Giants in their elimination final. We've seen it. We've seen it pretty consistently that to win games in the finals, it's all about how you play your percentages. And Geelong played their percentages better than the Hawks on the night, and they quite justly got the result.
And you'll hear a bit more about those 7-goal swings in the next game as well. Two very similar games, they parallel each other quite well, I think, because both 30-point margins, both were really good games of finals footy as well, which is what you want to see at this time of the year. Obviously, with the finals, once it gets a little bit out, once the game gets out of reach, everyone tends to give up, which kind of blows the margin out. I think this game was a bit closer throughout than what the scoreline tend to show. But
definitely.
But Dangerfield, mate, what's he doing?
That would be the best game of his career.
What the hell?
And we're talking almost 2-decade career. A Brownlow medalist. I don't think you've ever seen Patrick Dangerfield play a better game of football, and that alone is terrifying. I was actually asked this yesterday. Where do you rank this game for Dangerfield? And it's right at the top of the tree. I mean, he's won a Brownlow in dominant fashion. He's been an integral part of Geelong premierships in 2022. They're going again now in 2025. He's been a key part of the side this year. But this is as good of a performance as we have seen from Patrick Dangerfield. It was the complete game. Now, this is the type of game you herald when you talk about a guy like Michael Jordan in the NBA and his performance in the NBA Finals. When you talk about Tom Brady in the NFL, when you talk about these guys that stand up for their sides in the big moments, I mean, you'd have to put Dangerfield on that pedestal for our sport. And in the context of what we're talking about, this 32 touches, 3 goals, 9 inside 50s, 8 clearances. That is a phenomenal stat line. I mean, he wasn't the only one to have big numbers.
Mm. No, he was not. And I liked the Michael Jordan there. Little bit of a segue. Would have been a nice segue if we'd stuck there, because me, Jesse, I'm a basketball fan, but Tom Atkins, triple-double man. Now, triple-double, for those who don't know what that is, 3 stats in double digits across the board, over 10 kicks, 10 handballs, 10 tackles for Tom Atkins on this game as well, which was phenomenal. Like tackles alone are just kind of the tackles set the tone. I feel for where your team
Yes.
is going to be, how your team's going to be playing, and that Atkins definitely set the tone across the board in this one.
Yeah, I totally agree. Atkins was phenomenal. Smith did a boatload of work throughout the midfield. We know how good Jeremy Cameron is. Stengel looked lively as well. Graham Myers stepped up too. So what you're seeing with Geelong is you're seeing a team that just fires on all cylinders. And I think you can say the same thing with Brisbane, which we'll come to in a moment. But Geelong's best 22, the floor of that 22 is very high. And you look at guys that get booted out of that team, role players like Jordan Clark, become all Australians at other sides because that's just how good Geelong are. Check out our deep dive that we put out last week about the Cats' recruiting success to see more of this because, from head to toe, and I should probably acknowledge one of the comments we had, acknowledging the work in the culture and behind the scenes there to make sure that the club culture is paramount. So I should shout that out as well. Important to mention that culture element too. But not to derail
I think before
this.
we move on, Jesse, I think just in general, a good conversation across the board. One of our most commented on videos. So if you want to go over there, have a watch and get involved in that conversation, I think it's a good one because both sides of the argument are there. Like people have different feelings on this one. So I encourage everyone to
one
watch
side
that
is a bit sour grapes. And I want to actually talk about this because... are you cross because your team's not in the grand final then? Is that why you're upset and you're stropping that?
I'm not upset. No, I'm fine.
That's what it is. And I think that's actually a good segue to point that I want to bring up before we move on to the next game. Because I've heard an alarming amount of whinging this week about the fact that the prelim finals were Hawthorn, Geelong, Brisbane, Collingwood. And I just find it so tedious to whinge, it's the same sides again. Well, you know what, Liam? These sides are here for a reason. And if you look at the four sides, Brisbane, dominant 25 years ago, then were terrible for a decade. And make no mistake, they were terrible. Look at the Gabba attendance numbers. Look at the player retention. Brisbane were a basket case for a lot of that 2010s until Chris Fagan came along. They got the culture going. They got the recruitment and retention going. And now they've become a powerhouse side. Geelong, I think they're the exception because of how good they've been able to sustain it. But again, we talked about their ability to moneyball it, their ability to recruit, retain, find diamonds in the rough. Hawthorn, obviously very good in the early 2010s, ineffective prior to 2008, ineffective in the back end of Clarko's run, ineffective at the start of Sam Mitchell's reign, and now they're here. Collingwood, they were briefly good in the early 2010s. They were briefly good in the early 2000s. They've been good around the 2020 mark, including through to 2025. But they were a middling side in the mid to late 2000s before they got up again under Malthouse. And then they kind of lost their way a bit after that 2011 grand final defeat at the hands of Geelong. They were poor for a while until Buckley got them back into where they needed to be. And then they immediately fell off a cliff again. And then they came back under McRae. So the narrative that it's just these four sides is so tiring. I mean, since 2000, the only teams that haven't played a grand final off the top of my head are Carlton, who have played a prelim, North, who won the premiership the year prior in 99, Adelaide, who won the two premierships before North in 97 and 98, and Gold Coast, who were new. There might be another one there, but that's off the top of my head. I think it's a pretty even competition, Liam.
It's going to be an interesting one, Jesse, that potentially something we can deep dive in later and actually put some stats to it, some actual numbers, potentially something for the off-season that we can look at doing maybe. But before we move on to the next game, let's talk Hawthorn. We haven't spoken anything about Hawthorn yet. Obviously, a very good season for them as well, coming to an end in the prelim final. But what do you think of Hawthorn's game?
I mean, I still think they played a pretty good game of footy.
Sure.
And it's one of those things where if your brackets are changed around and maybe it's a Hawthorn-Collingwood prelim, you're potentially looking at a Geelong-Hawthorn grand final. And I know you can't Rubik's Cube everything to suit a narrative, but I think Hawthorn can be really pleased with what they've done this season because the narrative coming in was, well, they're not going to sustain what they did last year. Coming out of that semi-final defeat at the hands of Port, a narrow semi-final defeat. Well, I mean, look at West Coast. They preferenced Hawks' pick over Carlton in the pig swaps at the last off-season. So, the expectation was from a lot of people that they would trend down. They've trended up. They're building a better list. They might be getting Zach Merritt. That's pretty good. And isn't that, and no disrespect to James Warple, I think will be a very good addition for Geelong if he does end up going there. but you have to, like for like, say merits an upgrade. And that's what Hawthorn have done. They've preferenced upgrade, and they've got Barris in to replace Sam Frost. They've gone and gotten Battle to help with that defensive stability. They've gone for upgrades because they know they've got the core now. Don't be surprised if this Hawthorn side is very, very good in 2026 and also very, very good for a long time to come.
Gunston finish off his year strong as well. Another strong game for him, for the old fella. Amon, considering kicking on to the end of the season as well. I've really liked his game actually coming through the end of the season, through the finals. He's really shown some improvement as well. Sicily is great as always, but you know what? No fun Hawthorn win this week, but I think it was a nice little run for them to finish off the season. And while I get my next little screen up here, so I can give the next game, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the season coming as well. 1 second, Jesse. Fill the silence while I try and find my the right screen for us.
While Liam awkwardly fumbles, make sure you awkwardly fumble down to the subscribe button and hit that if you're on YouTube, if you're on one of our preferred podcasting platforms, be that Apple, Amazon, or Spotify. A like and a subscription for that as well does help. You can also leave a review on Spotify. Liam, that's still the same game. Have you found the new game that we need?
I found the new game, Jesse. Let's move on to that. Last night, at the time of recording, Saturday, September 20th at the MCG, 96,000, Jesse. That's nearly 200,000 across the 2 nights of footy. Collingwood 11-5-71. Accurate, but not good enough to beat the Brisbane Lions 15-10-100. Look, there'll be a lot of talk coming down to the moment, Jesse. You know, I think a lot of people are going to try and grab onto that free kick that wasn't paid to Elliott. But it wasn't that, was it? It wasn't just that. I think all around the Brisbane Lions showed that they were the better team on the night. What do you think?
They did. I understand why Collingwood fans are upset.
I would be too.
It's easy. It's easy to point it. But I think Craig McRae said it best himself in his presser. They still had us. Was his message in that, and I think that is true. And Collingwood, it's a shame because you saw the wheels fall off early when Penderbury subbed out minutes into the game. That obviously changes dynamics, and Collingwood, from where they were down at quarter time without their key vet to come back and rally like that was very impressive, and they should be credited for that. It was a brilliant fight back and a brilliant level of tenacity by the Pies to keep themselves with their head above water and then eventually go and take over for a period of that game. But look, ultimately, I think Brisbane have the better finals game plan, which we said might be the case going in to this, and that's what transpired. The Lions were able to suffocate the Pies at the end. Mason Cox gave them a glimmer of hope with a toe poke over the line, but look, after that and after the free kick never was. But, you can look at that. Remember, he's marked that 30 out and then puts an absolute rain catcher up for a 20-metre pass. You're not out of range. I get the upset. I really do. I would probably be shouting as well. It's a hard one because there is ball contact. Starcevic does collect the ball.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those ones that forever and a day. It'll be the poor man's version of was the ball out of bounds when Bruce Dill whacked it back in, also against Collingwood.
I think it's really easy, and I think as a fan of Collingwood, you'd be holding on to that decision as the reason. But plus 13 in the stoppage clearances for the Lions, probably what actually won this game. From the midfield is where it happened.
And no Lachie Neale either, keep in mind.
No Lachie Neale. No. Who might be back for next week, potentially. He looked pretty excited for it. Huh?
There's whispers that he might be back. Whispers.
He might be back. And maybe Hipwood too. We'll see. But McCluggage
I don't think they need Hipwood off the way Gallup played.
Oh my God, Ty Gallup. Where's this kid come from? Yeah, no kidding. Ty Gallup, just please stand up. I mean, unfortunately, I only got the last quarter and a bit of this game just because of, like I said before, the internet was a bit dodgy out in the countryside out here in Japan. But I turned it on and I was like, who is this kid who's marked the ball in the middle of a pack? Clutch footy. It's only Ty Gallup, Jesse. It's only Ty Gallup. It'd be hard to drop him, wouldn't it?
Oh, you'd be... I don't think you could. And no player is undroppable. But in finals environments, you back the players who are in form. And I know that the temptation's always going to be there. If he was fit, the temptation is always going to be there. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
You saw what happened last year. Sydney played some injured players just to kind of get them in the grand final because they were the bigger names, and look what happened.
Exactly.
Kind of got trounced. So look, hopefully Ty gets the game because he was very good. He's been very impressive the last couple. But who else? Who else the Brisbane Lions can impress you this one, Jesse?
I mean, wasn't McCluggage unbelievable?
He's
that
so
was
good.
just dominant. Zach Bailey, you can see why we're talking in the realm of 1.5 million for him next season as a free agent. He's the perfect. I'd like him a lot to Shea Bolton because I've said this a lot about Shea Bolton. He's an icing player. He's not a cake player. I don't think Bailey is going to be the one that is setting your foundation. But gee, he's an incredibly valuable asset to have once you're trending up. Brisbane are trending in that they're just generally at that top of that bubble now. But he goes to a side that's knocking on the door. I don't want to keep using Hawthorn example. You say Hawthorn. Throwing Gold Coast. I know that's not going to happen, but you throw in these sides that are trending up. Yep. That's exactly what you need. Yeah, Adelaide might be a good example for that as well. Throw him in there. You want, if you're one of those clubs, you're looking at a guy like Zach Bailey and saying, that's exactly what we need. That's the difference. And in many ways, he was the difference in this game.
I lost you for a bit there, Jesse, but we'll keep moving on. Dacos brothers were amazing as well as Elliot has been trying hard. Elliot's been trying to be the clutch player this whole final season. He's been trying to put something get that fire going, and it's been working. It's been working, but that spark can only last so much until the team kind of just peters out, unfortunately. But I'm not sure what's going on with the internet here, so we'll quickly probably finish this one up so we can wrap it up. Anything else to add about this one, Jesse?
No, just I think with that we've got the two best teams in the grand final.
And it's going to be a cork. And you can hear all about our last tip, our season finale of Just the Tips coming up on YouTube as well, where we tip the one game that is left, which is the grand final. It's going to be a doozy. Jesse, send the love of the people home.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast. I've already done the ad read. You know what to do with likes and subscriptions and all that. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the Brownlow. If you're catching this prior to the Charlie being awarded, hopefully we see a good count. Hopefully there's a competitive count. Hopefully nothing boring. Until next time, enjoy grand final week. If you're a Victorian, enjoy your public holiday on Friday, and we'll see you soon on the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast.
Bye, everybody.